Welcome back to the channel. What most people don't understand is that this war did not start in March. It started years ago. The bombing campaign, the sanction, the proxy conflict, all of that was phase 1. And phase 1 failed, right? So now we are in phase 2. And phase 2 looks completely different from what people are expecting. So let me explain what I mean by that. Okay, when America went into Iran initially, the strategy was decapitation. You go in and you take out the leadership. You create chaos at the top and the whole system collapses. That is the theory. And the theory made sense on paper. But what the Americans didn't account for was that the Iranian military wasn't built around centralized command the way a Western army is. It was built around distributed resistance, right? Distributed resistance. So you can kill the generals, you can bomb the command center, you can eliminate 4 years worth of leadership in a month, and they still be fighting you because the structure is decentralized by design. They built it the way specifically because they watched what happened in Iraq, they watched what happened in Libya, okay, and they said we are not going to make the same mistake. So round 1 didn't work. And now you have this ceasefire which on the surface looks like a pause. But if you understand how empire operates, a ceasefire is never just a pause. A ceasefire is a recalibration. Right now you step back, you access what failed, right? You restructure the approach and then you come back with something completely different. And that is exactly what is happening right now. So the new approach has 3 pillars and these 3 pillars are working simultaneously. But before we explain the 3 pillars, right, dear listeners, hit the like button, share and subscribe the channel just to complete 1000 subscribers challenge and be the first one. Okay, so let's start. The first pillar is economic strangulation. You have already seen this. They bomb Car Island. So Iran can no longer export oil at the volume it needs to survive. They block the Strait of Hormuz. So basically, you are cutting off the oxygen to the economy. You aren't trying to win militarily. You are trying to make it economically impossible for the government in Tehran to function. And when a government can't pay its soldiers, can't subsidize bread, can't keep the lights on, that government starts losing legitimacy from the inside, right? That government starts losing legitimacy from the inside. That is the goal, not military defeat, institutional collapse. Well, the second pillar is what we would call the limited ground strategy, and this is not a full invasion. People keep expecting a full invasion, and this is not what this is. What this is establishing operation bases in the northwest and southwest. The southwest because of the insurgents who are ethnic Sunnis living in a Shia governed state, and they have had grievances with Tehran for decades. So you arm them, you finance them, you give them a reason to fight, and suddenly you have created 2 internal pressure points without putting 100,000 troops on the ground. And that matters because the American public doesn't have the stomach for another full ground war. Not after Iraq, not after Afghan. So you fight the war without looking like you are fighting the war. The third pillar is strangling Tehran directly, and this is the one people are not taking about. You bomb the power plant, you bomb the water reservoirs, you bomb the railway, not to kill people, but to make daily life so unbearable that the civilian population turns against the government. That is the 21st century warfare. It's not about destroying the army anymore. It's about making the people themselves demand a political settlement. And history tells you this works. Not always cleanly, not always quickly, but eventually a population that can't access clean water, that sits in darkness every night, that watches food prices triple in 6 months, that population starts looking at its government differently. They stop asking why America is bombing us, right? They stop asking why America is bombing us and they start asking why can't our government protect us? And this is the shift that most analysts miss. Before the 20th century, war was two armies on the battlefield, and whoever won the battle won the war. In the 20th century, especially in World War II, war became about destroying industrial capacity. You fire bomb Germany, you firebomb Japan, you made it impossible for them to produce weapons and they collapsed. That is how the Allies won. But in the 21st century, you can't do that anymore, right? You have social media, you have a billion cameras, you have global opinion watching in real time. So you can't just bomb a city to rubble without consequence. What you do instead is surgical strikes combined with economic pressure, combined with internal insurgency, and you use all three until the population breaks from inside. Thank you for watching.